Hey everybody, before we get into today's show, just wanted to make sure you knew that you can get your free bottle of either the Universal Binder or the Daily Detox Support completely free on all qualifying orders going on right now over at Equilife while supplies last. So if you've been looking for a good binder to use with your favorite flex meal or cheat meal or alcohol or before a sauna, or maybe add it on to one of your favorite protocols like the Equilife Detox, Functional Medicine Detox, get your bottle completely free. Or maybe you're already doing a heavy metal detox or a mold-based protocol and you'd rather pick up the Daily Detox Support to help ramp up phase 2 detoxification, get those environmental toxins, the heavy metals, etc., out of the body that much easier. Well, either way, your pick on us. Head on over to stevencabral.com/shop for all the details and get your free bottle while supplies last. Now, enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified Doctor of Naturopathy, Dr. Stephen Cabral, shares with you exactly how you can reverse aging, take back your health, and live a life full of energy and passion, with new 20-minute episodes every single day to keep you healthy and engaged. Now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hey everybody, we are back with a brand new Cabral Concept. So glad you could join me here today. We're going to be going over about a dozen different reasons why you may be experiencing acid reflux, or maybe you're a health coach, maybe you're a practitioner, and you're trying to help clients of yours or patients to overcome their acid reflux issues without being relegated to a life of over-the-counter or prescription-based acid blockers. Because, and that's not going to be the topic of this show, but acid blockers can detrimentally affect your health if you take them for more than 2 weeks. That is the truth. That is what's spoken about and talked about in conventional medicine and even on the labels of these products. The problem is that conventional medicine does not always know the underlying root cause as to why you have acid reflux. Therefore, they have nothing else to do but to keep giving you the prescription month after month, even though it's stated on the package this product is not to be used for more than 2 weeks. So this is important to look at. What I want to help you with today is actually looking at some of the core underlying root cause reasons as to why you may have acid reflux, or something called GERD, which stands for gastroesophageal reflux disease. Now, remember, every disease always has an answer. There's always a root cause. You didn't have it most likely at 6 years old. You shouldn't have it at 36 years old or 56 years old. If your doctor tells you it's just genetic, I would get a second opinion, because everything is genetic, but that doesn't mean that you need to allow for the expression of epigenetics that enables you to either have amazing health or poor health, right? You don't have to have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, or an autoimmune issue. You're not genetically going to necessarily get that. You can be genetically predisposed, but as I talked about in the rain barrel effect, that doesn't mean that you have to have it. I had an autoimmune issue, type 2 diabetes, Addison's disease, POTS, allergies, and much more as a teenager at 17 years old into my early 20s. But now, 20 plus years later, into my mid 40s, I no longer have an autoimmune issue, type 2 diabetes, Addison's disease, POTS, or even allergies anymore. So how is that humanly possible? I have the same genetics. Well, it's the expression of our genetics. So let's get into now some of the underlying root causes that actually leads to acid reflux. All right, the first one I want to share with you, why don't I share three right out of the gates that can be an actual physical imbalance, or one of them is not an imbalance, and you'll probably have a little laugh once I get to it. So there's something called the lower esophageal sphincter. And why don't I hold up my buddy here, Walter? So Walter's been with me many, many years now, since about 2010, since I started teaching this. And right at the bottom, if you're watching this on video, if you're not watching this on YouTube, we definitely invite you to subscribe to the show. Each and every day, a brand new show comes out to you, about 15 minutes long. And so right at the end of the small intestine, which is kind of a misnomer because it's about 20 feet or so, and the large intestine is about 5 feet or so. Now, the interesting thing, though, is the large intestine does have a larger circumference. So the small intestine comes down to the ileum, and then it meets the cecum. And then what we have here is the same type of sphincter that more people have heard about, which does not allow the backflow from the colon bacteria back into the small intestine. Well, we have the same type of sphincter in the esophagus, which is what moves down your throat and connects to your stomach. Okay? So if that sphincter is also supposed to be a one-way street. So food or acid's not supposed to come back up. So even if you have a lot of acid in your stomach, you shouldn't be getting acid reflux up into your throat if the lower esophageal sphincter is working properly. Very important to look at that. One of the reasons why the LES, or lower esophageal sphincter, can be thrown off is because of a hiatal hernia. All right, so the hiatal hernia is where the upper part of the stomach, there's multiple ways to get this, starts to bulge through the diaphragm up into the chest and can actually force the LES to stay open or even just partially open. And then you start to get that acid coming up, sometimes without even consuming any food. Other times when you only consume a large meal, right? So that hiatal hernia becomes more pronounced when your stomach's now full because you don't have as much space as it was in the first place because of the hernia. So now that's forcing the LES muscle open to a greater degree, and sometimes food, but oftentimes acid, which is starting to be produced 20 to 30 minutes after we eat, starts to come up into the throat. All right, that's two reasons, biomechanical based. The third one, which again, you can have a little laugh at my expense, that's okay, is pregnancy. So in pregnancy, well, lo and behold, right, you're growing a child inside of yourself. As that child is developing and becoming larger and larger, what happens? Well, the organs become displaced to a certain degree. And it can actually force the stomach and other organs up, and that can push on the LES as well. Now, that's a challenge. There's no doubt about it. Sometimes there has to be smaller meals, as we were talking about before. Sometimes we use a little bit of ACV. Sometimes we are just finding the foods, that I'll be talking about in a moment, that might aggravate women more when they're in pregnancy, specifically that last trimester. Okay? So important to look at those. Obesity along the same lines. This is important as well. And I did a show just about a week or two ago. Again, you can find all the past shows at stephencabral.com/podcast. But I did one on visceral body fat. This is important because subcutaneous body fat is not going to force the same issue on the stomach and LES as visceral body fat. Now, visceral fat is fat that surrounds and is embedded in the organs or muscle of the abdomen. So think about it. You've got your stomach, you've got your pancreas, you have your spleen, you've got your liver, you've got organs right in and around your stomach. So if we look at this, okay, we've got our stomach here, we've got the liver over to the right, below that to the left, we're gonna be looking at the pancreas and the spleen. You've got your gallbladder over here to the right, connected to the liver. And so what happens is we can start to force that stomach up again with that visceral-based body fat. So that's important. So a lot of times when we're trying to help people with acid reflux, if they're open to it and they need to lose, let's just say 40, 50 plus pounds, well, we'll go on a specific regimen that helps with weight loss, and the acid reflux then naturally starts to imbalance if that was the particular issue. Okay, let's get into a couple more. I want to go diet for a moment. This doesn't affect everybody, so don't think that it does. I'm a huge fan. I love spicy foods, and I love hot sauce. I talked about that, I think, even just like last weekend or so on the show. But for some people, it definitely aggravates their acid reflux to a greater degree. Typically with these individuals, they're a little bit more sensitive to histamines. And the histamines can get fired up if you're consuming foods that are either smoked, spiced, or aged. And so that's something to keep in mind. Citrus fruits does it for a lot of other individuals, even things just like a lemon, because yes, it's lower, it's more acidic, right? Now there's alkaline-based minerals that once it's digested, you bring that potassium and other salts into the body, but initially there is a lot of acid to it. Having said that, fermented foods or an apple cider vinegar, etc., could be an issue. For others, it's chocolate, and I've even seen in my practice quite a bit, to be truthful, is mint. So mint or mint flavors can aggravate acid reflux. One more or two more, well, let's put this in its own category. So another one is caffeine. Caffeine for some people can lead to acid reflux. Now, this one should be in its own category, so I want to put it there, is alcohol. For many people, the acidity of alcohol, the histamines in alcohol, and the overall inflammatory nature of alcohol can lead to acid reflux. So I gave you a few just to see, are these variables for you? Kind of think about those. When you eat those foods, does it lead to more acid reflux? Now, I should share this with you. Back in the day, I was on Prilosec. 16, 17 years old, I was on an acid blocker just as a teenager. Never once did my doctor tell me any of these things could be an issue. Well, for me, stress was one of them. Stress is on the list. Stress can lead to GERD and acid reflux. But another one that I didn't know about is now I can eat it today because my body's more healthy and balanced. But back in the day, my mom, my grandmother, they used to make a lot of pasta with a lot of tomato sauce. And the tomatoes gave me incredible acid reflux. And for many people as well, it could do the same, or many nightshades. So interesting that certain foods can trigger acid reflux in certain individuals. Okay, let's move on to medications. Let food be thy medicine, right? Well, some medicines can also give you acid reflux. One of those is aspirin. Aspirin, and we'll put ibuprofen in there. Aspirin is more dangerous for the liver. Ibuprofen is more dangerous for the stomach and for the kidneys. So ibuprofen, better known as Advil, right? But you have various forms of ibuprofen. So ibuprofen can actually create ulcers in the stomach. It's not a good thing to be taking on an ongoing basis, and certainly not good to take on an empty stomach. So I can't give you any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, or medical diagnosis, certainly not over podcast. But what I want to share with you, at least don't take those on an empty stomach. Okay. Certain muscle relaxers, if you're on a muscle relaxer, you can look at the contraindications, you can look at the possible side effects, and certain blood pressure medications as well. So if your doctor prescribed you a blood pressure medication, and then a couple months later you started to get acid reflux, it very well could be connected to the blood pressure medication. All right, a couple more I want to go over. Doesn't happen to everybody, but smoking, tobacco use can lead to acid reflux. It could be smoking, or it could even be a dip or something like that. It can absolutely lead to acid reflux, but mainly because it can weaken the muscle of where the esophagus meets the stomach. And that's the LES, that lower esophageal sphincter. So really important. Smoking as well can reduce malt saliva, which can then weaken the breakdown of food, leading then to potentially increased acid reflux. All right, couple more. I talked about stress. I can't really state that enough. The only time I've ever had, because after like 3 years, so by the time I was 19, 20, really 19, I was deep into nutrition. And so I'd gotten rid of my acid reflux. I was starting to try to help myself get better. But again, this is like the late 90s. So we take for granted the amount of information that we have today. There's no podcasts. There's no online, right? Like literally, my family had like a Commodore 64 and AOL dial-up. And I didn't even know that you could look stuff up. But if I looked things up, it would be in Encyclopedia Britannica anyways. So there'd be no help. So I'm very grateful that all of us have this large reservoir of information. It's pretty great. So, but the only time I've ever had reflux again is during times of high stress. There's no doubt about that. And when I was opening both of my locations in Boston, a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, realizing it was stress and saying, well, I'm not going to take medication for this, and doing natural things. I've talked about natural, we'll link up some of those shows. Why don't I do that today? Because we're not going to be able to go over the different natural remedies. But truthfully, the natural remedy is reversing all of the things that I'm talking about here today, right? Not just looking towards supplements. Supplements are amazing and they can be used for acid reflux in the short term, but why don't we look at what the underlying root cause is? So stress was always one of mine. Luckily, I've been better the last bunch of years, but certainly stress can be one of them. Okay, talked about the large meals, but I want to kind of put that in its own realm. You can have nothing wrong. You can have no hiatal hernia. You can have absolutely no histamine issues per se. You can have no LES-based issues, but if you eat a large meal, you can still kind of cause the food to stay too long in the stomach, delay what's called gastric emptying, or stomach emptying is probably a more appropriate name here. And you can still then get that pushing up on the stomach because it's overstuffed. And the LES then opens and you can get that acid reflux. All right, why don't I give you two more? I'm going to save an important one for last because this is when I find most people get acid reflux. Okay, so improper posture. I know this sounds kind of crazy, but how you sit when you're eating and digesting matters. If you are hunched over, you are not allowing what's called the fundus and the gastric part of the stomach in order to properly break down the food within an hour to 3 hours or so time. And if you delay that stomach emptying, you can absolutely continue to build up stomach acid and cause gas in the stomach, which then the gas actually forces then open the LES as well. All right. Now the last one is this. The majority of people that I've seen in my practice, their acid reflux kicks up more at night and going when they're in bed, when they're lying down. All right. First part is this, eating too close to bed, and then lying down, especially on your back, or mainly your back, and getting acid reflux. So if you ate close to bed, probably need to prop yourself up a little bit and lie on your left side. By lying on your left side, because the stomach naturally has a pocket on its left side. And if you lie on the left side, this has been talked about from Ayurvedic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, Native American forms of like everything. You lie on your left side for a half hour or so after a meal if you want, but you're lying on that side to allow for proper digestion to take place and not have the food start to come back up on you. So do I think that you should eat close to bedtime? No, 3 to 4 hours before bed, ideal. If you're eating closer to bed because you got to work late, the gym late, whatever it is, try to make it an easier to digest meal. That's my recommendation for you. So hopefully this was helpful today. Just a bunch of different things that I've seen in my practice that I wanted to share with you as to all the different reasons that could lead to acid reflux. There are more, but these are the majority that I see in my practice. And then I'll link up additional episodes on acid reflux at StephenCabral.com/2924. Hopefully this was helpful. Do feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow with a brand new Cabral concept. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into today's show. Before you head off, just make sure you do not miss your choice to pick up either the Universal Binder or the Daily Detox Support completely free. This is a $49+ value, yours completely free on all qualifying orders going on right now over at Ecolife. So you get to choose. Usually we're going to give you one of our favorite items, but we know some people may already have the Universal Binder. Some people are already on the heavy metal detox, the mold protocol, or whatever it may be, and they may want to try our new Daily Detox Support, which enables your body to ramp up phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification, specifically phase 2, to help you with heavy metals, environmental toxins, etc. So this is yours completely free on us to try it out. These are a full 30-day supply. Head on over to StephenCabral.com/shop for all the details and get your free bottle this week while supplies last.